Hey guys, Eric and Roth here. We're going to talk about the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 premiere, Shadows. Full spoilers are to follow, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, you might want to go watch it first, because we're about to talk about it.
Available on multiple platforms.
That's right. Well, let's leap right in. This is a show that was so analyzed and discussed last season. A lot of people feeling it wasn't delivering what they want, but that it ended on a stronger note. We all wondered, what would Season 2 be? What did you think of this premiere?
I liked it. I think that I think you mentioned this in your review, the pressure was on for them to deliver a strong episode because there was so much scrutiny, and they were like, at the very end of the season, people were like, okay, maybe you're turning out okay. I thought it was they corrected some of the issues were there. I did have a few questions about one or two things in terms of just Fitz being not being in a hospital and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a strong episode, and that the characters came in stronger and in a more interesting way. They're behaving differently than we had seen them the last time, but it makes logical sense why they're behaving the way they are.
Yeah, and there's a few months have passed, which I think certainly helps. Yes, Skye is way more sort of capable, confident. She's in there in the field.
Sporting a cute haircut.
Probably
irrelevant, but
sporting
still.
some cute bangs. But yeah, you have to be just filling those blanks. It's been a few months. She's doing some intensive training with Melinda May.
And it's even mentioned.
Yeah.
Ward mentions I can tell you've been working out
right.
and you're training.
And it just, I actually really like the premiere, and I really like the feel of it, because that's one thing that was often off in the show in the first season was just the whole feel of the show, both visually, but also just the mood of the show was just a little too, glossy, a little too wafer thin. Even though the Marvel movies are great with the sense of humor, they're still, you still buy into the characters and the situation first. Like Guardians of the Galaxy feels like a very lived-in world, and they're really funny.
Yeah.
But S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't there. There was a lot of times it felt like, oh, there's nothing's of consequence, and you could tell everything felt a little different in the premiere. They wanted it to have a little more intense feel.
I think it's because they had them really pay a price at the end of last season in a couple of different ways. The team sort of took a hit, and the whole world did, and S.H.I.E.L.D. took a huge hit and fell apart. But you feel the weight of that. Coulson is not being his sort of normal, jovial, I'm the dad kind of self, because he cannot be. And I'm sure that costs him something to have to behave in a much colder way and make much harsher decisions. But he does have to. Otherwise, everything's going to fall apart,
right.
And I think, too, with Ward, they paid a price in that regard as well.
I was really glad that that they had them as this fugitive group on the run, vigilantes, really, because I did wonder, a huge question I had actually put the producers on the spot several times this summer when I spoke to them was, Nick Fury can say to Coulson, hey, rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D., but Nick Fury technically is dead.
Right.
S.H.I.E.L.D. was completely, discredited.
Without resources.
Right. And so I think I would have groaned and been very upset if they were like, okay, we're starting S.H.I.E.L.D. and, the government's cool with that and we're back. But instead to have it be like, no, they're wanted.
Yeah.
They are completely off the grid.
They have to steal weaponry.
They have to steal weaponry. They have to get in gunfights with the military, even if they're using non-lethal, bullets. And so, yeah, it just makes the show feel a lot cooler, a lot easier to invest in, because season 1, they were supposed to be part of this giant organization. So on one hand, it's like, oh, they can call in all these resources. Then there was the fact that because they're a TV show, they actually didn't have the budget to call in all the resources they should. Put them in a weird place.
Yeah, and honestly, even just as a viewer, it's always more interesting to watch the scrappy underdogs, whether it's Scooby-Doo or Team Buffy or Angel, and his crew. It's just, although when they became corporate, that was fun too. But it's just more fun to watch that because it does give them more obstacles to play out, and it explains a lot of why are there not 200 members of the military?
Where's the helicarrier when something's going wrong? Yeah. And then the villain this week was Absorbing Man, and I super geeked out. I love that character. I think it was a great choice for the premiere because he's a pretty notable Marvel villain. And has a really cool power, and actually I think they pulled it off very well on the TV effects budget.
Yeah, and they worked out a little tip of the hat to the fans, sort of with the
ball and chain. Yes.
Were you excited to see that?
I was extremely excited to see it, other than it ended so quickly that I'm like, okay, well, I hope that comes back again.
Somehow.
I
don't know that it will, because I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense if he just now is like, I really like this thing. This is great. But they did. I thought he looked great. I thought He was incredibly intimidating and silent, which I enjoyed. And I also liked that he wasn't just like, he was a mercenary. You know, he's like, Hail Hydra, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I love that.
I'd like to discuss my paycheck and what do I need to do next. I like the idea that there are also mercenaries in this world, because on both sides, right? Like in S.H.I.E.L.D. too, because that feels very true to me, that not everybody would be like, I'm fighting for the blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I'm fighting for cash and myself, and that's what I'm fighting for.
And the team itself, you know, we mentioned S.H.I.E.L.D, but the fact that they had added these mercenaries, it just seemed like a much more capable team. I mean, one thing that was very odd in the conception of S.H.I.E.L.D. was having a 6-member team where 3 of the members were young, untrained, and not ready for combat.
Yeah.
It was like 1 would have been fine, but 3 was very strange. It never made it feel like a team that's ready to go in and kick ass. Now we had all these other characters go, and S.H.I.E.L.D. herself is way more skilled. They had all these other characters, even if they didn't survive, all survived to the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And it just made it, you could much more believe that, okay, this is a team that can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, a counter to that is that, interestingly enough, having unskilled team members would make more sense now, because they have no resources.
I think the idea, though, now is more that it's a tougher team to get on your side because they're mercenaries.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Fitz, though.
Yeah.
I do want to talk, because I had very mixed feelings about it. First of all, what I loved about it was that, again, it really showed, if you want to see the consequences of what happened last season, that's the most clear example. He's really broken, and that was hard to watch, and sort of even when you thought she was really there, it was hard to watch because you care about this character. And then when you know she's not, that's very heartbreaking. But I did wonder, like, he's sitting there tinkering around. At the end, Coulson's basically saying he can't do anything. And I'm just like, well, then why is he there? Like, where's your real science guy then?
Yeah.
Like, even if you're keeping him around because you're on the run and you're protecting him and you're letting him pretend that he's doing stuff, you actually gave him an assignment.
Yeah.
That was super important.
Yeah.
At the top of the episode, where's your actual science dude? Like, wouldn't Simmons stay just so she could actually run that?
Yeah, we need a little. We need a lot more explanation there. And I know, you know, people, will say yes, they are fugitives, so he can't just go back to his old life, and he's clearly not well. But it did seem weird and almost kind of cruel to act like he's doing his job when basically Coulson is like he's worthless, not as a person, but at his job, that he can't do it. That was strange. Even knowing Coulson that sees them as his family, even if he's covering it up right now and all that, it was just a little strange. And I do hope we get clarification. We certainly need clarification about what would make Simmons make such a big decision to just leave. You know?
I mean, emotionally, I immediately was like, I think it would make you feel horrible and guilty to constantly be seeing this person fall apart in front of you when they had sacrificed themselves for you. You know, that would be really hard to watch. Then your response is like, well, suck it up and help him because he did sacrifice himself for you. So sorry, it's hard. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like she probably maybe really did think that he would do better without her. But my real, again, my main question underneath all of that is just like, fine, I can justify why she left. If there was somebody else to run that department, I can justify them keeping him there to protect him, but I don't understand actually trying to give him something to do.
Yeah,
you know, in those circumstances.
It's weird, but I will at least say, like, I agree with you. It was a well done twist, her not being there, and I felt really bad, which is saying something because when this show began, I was like, oh, Fitz and Simmons, they're basically the same character, and then they gave her a little more, but he still kind of felt the same. So it is a testament to how the show has grown that I cared about it, you know, that I felt bad for this guy.
I think so too. And I think overall, I like it. I just hope that they have some explanations on the way. Let's talk about Ward.
Yeah, Lecter Ward.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. I mean, it's a little obvious, you know, and they even sort of noted that this will be a thing that is now happening. We're going to send Sky. His obsession with Sky is so creepy that I love it, you know, because I'm like, what an interesting choice to have this guy be such a creeper, to be like, I love you, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And she's like, just answer my question.
Yeah, no, I actually thought it was a good scene. It is fun. I just am worried about them trying to redeem him in the long term. But we'll see, you know.
I think they did plant the seeds.
Well, yeah.
Pardon me, excuse me.
You were just overwhelmed.
I was overwhelmed with emotion because of all of the evil and the wonderfulness. I think they planted the seeds when he was like seeds. When he said, you know, I know why I did what I did. I'm like, oh, don't give us some lame, don't retrofit some like great explanation for him being a scumbag. Don't do that. I think like not to keep bringing up Angel, but Wesley, when he turned to like Dark Wesley, he became so much more interesting and such a great character. But what was cool is that he rode that line. So I'm not opposed to Ward kind of riding the line of good and evil. And like if they need him, sort of slowly reintroducing him. I just don't want him to like, I don't want them to oversell it and have him suddenly become some big hero.
Yeah, and hopefully, knock on wood, they won't do that. Let's, as we wrap up here, let's quickly mention though a couple of other Marvel things that were in this episode. Daniel Whitehall, we saw him in the flashback. Very cool to see Agent Carter and a couple of the Howling Commandos, by the way.
Oh yeah, I love that they're getting us ready.
Getting us ready.
Do you think they're going to cross over a bunch like that?
I think I was at a press event last night where they said that there will not be direct, like there won't be time travel, but the idea of seeding things and yeah, there'll be some stuff there. So that was interesting, and obviously the fact that he's still the same age. And then there was one other cool little thing in the beginning, which was that other crate and a glimpse of blue skin and some sort of black lines on it.
Kree-ness.
It seemed pretty damn Kree in
That's
there.
got to play out, right?
Maybe that's on Agent Carter, you know. And,
I mean, do you think that has something to do with like the
guy first
bringing
season?
People back from? I don't know.
Yeah, because we saw that blue guy in season 1, and we haven't gotten the full explanation, and now we've really been introduced to the Kree and Guardians of the Galaxy. So it is certainly interesting to have that all. Again, we keep using this word, seeded in.
Do you think that could tie into? Do you think it could be a whole thing about like the Kree tech helping, or the Kree biology helping with bringing the people back from the dead, like Coulson, but then even keeping that guy young?
Something. I think it will tie in, because we saw that guy, that other blue body last season was tied into what's going on with Coulson. So yeah, it's all threading together. We'll see, but yeah, very optimistic beginning for season 2. I think I know you and I, but other people I've talked to seem much more sort of excited about what's going on than was going on a lot of last year. So we'll be tracking plenty more on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Keep it locked here at IGN.